Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the 2022-2023 Yeshiva League Pass Face-Off season. I'm your host, Josh Cass, coming at you live on my Instagram account. And here we are. We have another episode coming out for you guys, the first one that is being produced live of this season. But I just want to remind you all real quick who we're sponsored by, and that is the Weiselberg Law Firm. For 16 years, you've entrusted Elliot with the growth and guidance of your kids, and now it's time to let him do the same for your family's most important asset, your home. Admitted in both New York and New Jersey, Elliot can help guide you through any residential or commercial purchase, sale, refinance, or lease with championship quality and award-winning care. If you're looking for your commercial coach or a new home is your goal, reach out to Weiselberg Law Real Estate Services today at 917-952-2597 or wiselawsk@gmail.com. Reminding all of our viewers and everyone once again that that's the Weiselberg Law Firm. Please choose wisely. So I'm just waiting for my guest to join. You guys will see who it is any second now. There he is. I want to welcome in Aiden Rauzman, everyone of the TABC Storm. Correct me if I'm wrong, Aiden, but it's six captains and or alternate captains on that JV hockey team that you guys have this year, who is currently, tearing it up right now. They're on a hot streak, one of 3 undefeated teams left in the league. We'll get to that eventually. But just having an overall phenomenal season this year as a sophomore after doing it last year as a freshman. So Aiden, thank you so much for making it happen, and welcome.
Yeah, I think we have six A's and 4 A's and 2 C's.
Yeah, that's listen, I've been a part of some teams in my career, whether that be as a player, as a coach, where you see that obviously there are a lot of very capable players or people on a team that are certainly deserving of roles, in their leading, except obviously a lot of people don't, or rather I should say a lot more coaches. I'm sure the players don't mind when you have, a number beyond like 3 or 4, maybe even letters overall. You guys have 6, which, as I'm going to mention, going forward, obviously just shows the depth of your team and the personnel you guys have. But real quick, I'm just curious to, and I guess we'll start off with this. What does that mean to you, coming back for your second year and already, playing a huge role, knowing you were trusted by that coaching staff of Svika, Josh, and J-Rob, I believe, is your third coach in that mix. A couple months ago, you were a freshman. You guys had played a championship game against DRS. You guys were sort of the inexperienced players as opposed to the 10th graders that led your team, most notably in Shea Fields, Matis Kraus, Ezra Alter, Amichai Dresner, and net. This year, you guys come in as the leaders of this team. You guys all got those roles, but you specifically stepping up, as you said, one of 6 letters on that team. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, last year it was a tough year. We obviously lost in the championship. Tough game, 2-1. But, as a captain, as a leader, it's like kind of like a role model to like all the other players, I guess. I guess they can like look up to the captains and if they want to work on something or try to fix something, they always like look at us like we're the captains, we're the role models. So, yeah. All
right, so I just want to touch on that real quick. Throwback to last year when you guys obviously had a phenomenal regular season. Everyone knows that already. Now, obviously, I'm not going to dwell too much on it. I'm not here to bring back painful memories if it is that way. But, the way that I look at it, unfortunately, I never had the luxury of winning a championship as a player throughout my 4 years. I never had the opportunity to play in one. I never, I was never really on that level throughout my high school days. However, I know what it's like to have been there in other I guess we'll call it outlets for now, not necessarily in hockey. In some of the guys on this, some of the guys watching this live could attest to that in Camp Dove this past year. But regardless of that, the question then comes into play: how much experience do you believe that losing in last year's championship is bringing to the way that so far you've performed this season, the way your team overall has performed this season, especially for those that were 9th graders with you last year, whether they be among those 5 other letters on the team other than yourself, or if that means that they are now freshmen on the team and you guys are looking to kind of lead the pack this year? Because last year you guys were a majority 9th grade team.
So I mean, obviously, it's the freshmen and ninth graders want to win. They want a championship. They want a banner. They want their name on the wall. But I think as the 10th graders now, like, we've obviously had a great season last year, went undefeated, and then we lost in the championship. But we all want to win this year. We all, like, the loss, I think, like, pushes us forward and, like, motivates us to win and try even harder.
Can I ask you then, along with just last year overall, obviously, mentioning that you were part of that 10-0 team, but it's not just you were a sort of, I don't want to say a bench player on that team. Obviously, you weren't in the, were you a captain or an alternate captain last year? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember as any of the freshmen were, but that being said, you still played a major role, and I'll quote it back to what Elliot Weiselberg said on the championship broadcast. He said, if you look at TABC and DRS and the way they kind of compare, DRS is very heavily sophomore. They had a couple of very good freshmen on that team last year. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, it's you and Ellis Bornstein, Micha Khan, Max Pakras, all guys people looked at and said, okay, they're a good core to lead that JV DRS team next year. But all of the talk, especially in that championship game when it comes to the depth and overall just who's going to have kind of a better layout going forward was all about you, with you and Ben Sion Kaiser, R.E.A. Simon, Jonathan Brothman, R.E.A. Zikovitz, who are all also towards the top of the class, obviously, in terms of your grade and where you guys all kind of stand amongst each other. So, that being said, how much do you believe last year for you personally, having played such a big role, ties to this year with, your expectations sort of and your personal level of experience?
Yeah, I think the guys who had a major role last year, like you said, like R.A. Simon, Tom Brothman, and R.A. Zigowitz, and Sion, my line mate, we all had a major role in the game, in playing time. So, like, I feel like we all, like, it helps us with experience and helps us with, like, kind of like game awareness. Like, if you see someone who hasn't played in 2 years and a guy who's been playing but he hasn't won, the guy who's been playing and hasn't won is going to be much better because he's had game experience.
So I want to kind of flip the subject. I'm seeing all these comments in the live chat. It actually just brought something back to mind. What do you make? Obviously, you were around last year, but there are a couple of key pieces to this team or players that are going to be playing roles going forward for your season, whether that be this year, during the regular season, or hopefully when you guys get into the playoffs, which I would assume is going to happen. You guys are 5-0 right now. But regardless of that, specifically, not really as specifically, but obviously the freshmen that have just joined the classes here, guys I want to throw out there like Benjamin Kornick and Jack Abramson, who have come on offense and defense particularly. And then also on the defensive side of things for guys your age, either guys who weren't in TABC prior or guys who were cut last year but made the team. And specifically want to mention a big transfer everyone was talking about, Ethan Moskoff coming over from Frisch. What does that mean? Knowing you have these guys that are kind of coming into this system, and how do you believe they might play roles going forward? And, what do you feel has been the overall, how much do you feel that's really changed the culture, knowing that you have guys like choosing to come here that want to go through the same experience and the same process and have the same goal overall as you do?
So Ethan Moskoff, who's a big transfer, came to TABC. He's huge in the aspect of the game because he's a big defender has a good shot, good handles, and helps the goalie out in like tremendous ways. He's a great defender, so it helps the goalie, helps shy out, and doesn't get as much shots in it as he did last year when he played. We'll
kind of move on just to sort of, I don't want to say necessarily the expectation, because everyone knows what that is with TABC every year. Obviously, it's about we want to bring a championship back to Bergen County. You walk in, and I can attest to this. I was out there for my season opener coaching varsity this year. And every single time it gets me, I walk through that hall and I come in through the entrance that's closest to the gym in the building. And other than the fact that you walk by those two really beautiful gyms, don't get me wrong, they're fantastic, obviously great playing sites. But you walk by that big trophy case, and obviously you see all the hockey championships and the basketball championships. But then if that doesn't do you fancy, then you walk into the hockey gym and you see every single wall is just completely covered with banners that all have the coaches' names, all have Mo Fuchs' name on it, all have the players from that team's season on it. And overall, how much does that push you, knowing that, you want to be part of history? You want your name on a banner that says, hey, we got it done. We won.
Yeah, I mean, when you walk into school, obviously seeing the trophy case and, like, you see a second place trophy, it's not like it doesn't bring you joy. I mean, like, we all obviously wanted the first place trophy and we lost, but the banner on the wall is also a huge part, like walking and playing in the gym in your free period, and you see that your name is not there and you want it to be there, obviously.
I'm going to just real quick, as we'll start to close things out right here. I mentioned already Camp David. Normally I don't tie things into this, but I'll go back on what one of my players this past summer, Micha Khan, you might know him, said when my team was doing well and they finally lost a game. And he said, listen, like, here's the deal. I'm going to let you in on a little something. Like DRS last year was 9-0-1 or 9-0-0-1 or something like that. Their only loss prior to the championship was against you guys in DRS. And he said, well, listen, like, I think that fueled us for the championship because we knew what it was like to lose and we didn't want that to happen again. Now that you know what it's like, you've only lost one game in your Yeshiva League hockey career in high school. Now, as unfortunate as it may be, it was the championship. But how much more, you already touched on it a little bit, but kind of go through, I guess on a more deeper level, what it would mean to you to win that championship, knowing you don't want to lose, knowing what it's like to lose, especially only on that level. Man.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the loss is the one loss I've had, the team had, is obviously killer. I feel like, yes, DRS has lost the game, but we've lost the championship, so I guess it fuels us like a little more than a normal game because they have a championship, we don't. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. And I just, I would assume that we're probably thinking on the same page here, but how much more motivated do you really think, what kind of goals do you set, for yourself, or rather, not what kind of, I'm not going to ask you to get that specific, but more like I'm sure that the level of belief is obviously still high. You guys have a big part of that core from last year that's around kind of as the, just the overall, the veterans for this year's, like, quote unquote veterans for this year's JV team as 10th graders that were on 9th grade playing a very big role last year. Do you feel that, maybe because you guys have set certain goals, like maybe last year, for example, you guys said, okay, here's the deal. Like, we're 10-0 and obviously all the expectations are that we're going to win this thing. But when it's all said and done, worst case scenario, even if we lose this thing, our 9th grade class played a tremendous role in our success this season. And the only thing it's going to do is fuel them and make them more motivated. And it's going to make us want to get it back even more next year should things not go our way. Do you kind of set aside certain goals for that to happen and say, okay, like, goal number 1 was win the championship. Goal number 2, our 9th grade class got experience. Now you guys are leaders of this team.
After the loss, we're in the locker room and, like, you can see the guys who are upset. And you see the guys who are freshmen, like the sophomores now, who obviously understand that we lost, but we still have next year. You have to learn from this game and try to fix it in the next game. Next time we play DRS, next time we're in the championship, hopefully. You just got to learn from the game. And, as you said, you have to set goals for yourself, get better on things because we didn't win. So something's wrong. So we have to fix what's wrong and try to win.
So just last few questions. One, you mentioned fixing, obviously, what's wrong, and that kind of ties into your coaching staff. What does it mean to you to have 3 guys who have been through the same process as you have? They were all players at TABC, all coaching at TABC for many years, either individually or at, I believe back in the day when Norm Blumenthal was the head coach at his side, even last year together, their first year, or I think maybe their second year as a trio. What does it mean to you to have guys that have gone through that experience, great for the mentoring process, who've all gone through it the same exact way you have through TABC, through Norm, through Mo, and now
obviously tremendous parts in our success in our game. They obviously help us each game and talk about strategy and talk about what we can do. Help us in practice, work on different kind of skills, or they'll watch film from different game and tell us, like, here's what they're doing and here's how you stop it. So they're definitely very helpful in many ways.
And then my last question kind of ties into, you said like when we play DRS and, when we'll hopefully get back to, a high level of the game, whether that be playoffs, championship, or whatever it is, a grudge match game. You guys are going to be playing DRS later on in the year on New Year's Day, January 1st. And I'm sure you guys are going to pack the stands. TABC's always been very, very, very great when it comes to just, bringing big crowds out for big games, meaningful games, very just, I would say intenser, very meaningful contests. Last year I remember when I went for my playoff game there with my varsity hockey team. That atmosphere was absolutely rocking. And it's not even against obviously nothing against the fans. They really fuel their home team and they do it well. The big question is, how excited are you for that DRS game coming up? How much more do you want it with all the history riding on it, even though it's only going to be your third time facing those guys, just like period, because the Jersey League and the Long Island League don't mix in middle school, and you only really get exposed to it starting in high school.
Against DRS on whenever we play January 1st, it's obviously going to be, I guess you can call it a revenge game, but it's not really like that. It's just like we all want to win. TABC has lost their last game, so they're coming off a loss to DRS and a loss in the championship, and they obviously want to show DRS that we could be you, and we could be you in a championship.
Right. Well, Aiden, we're going to wrap this thing up, but real quick, is there anyone that you want to shout out or give props to, regarding anything?
Oh, yeah, just Joseph
close it out. All righty. Well, thank you so much for making this happen. We really appreciate it. Wishing you best of luck with the rest of your season and going forward. And, once again, this would not be possible without you or without the Wasselberg Law Firm, Yeshiva League Pass, for both of you guys making it happen and sponsoring. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Have an amazing night. And Aiden, once again, thank you so much for making it happen. I really appreciate it, my guy.